Common law is very, very simplistic. It's very simple. Your rights end, your freedoms end where another individual's begin. It's effectively, if you harm another individual in any way or you are fraudulent in your contracts, then you have broken common law. Maritime jurisdiction is the jurisdiction that every government in the world uses to oppress the people. To understand jurisdiction, you have to understand the origins of how this came about. There's a bit of conjecture in Britain about whether or not this applies here and in Europe and in Australia, and it applies everywhere. It's a body of law which guarantees that if you engage in commerce anywhere in the world, you got to pay your bills. It is a uniform set of codes. And you can also use them to your benefit because there are protections in the UCC code, many protections.
It looks like English, it's got the same words, but they mean different things, and that's probably one of the grand underlying parts of this whole deception, is the fact that you can look at a contract and think, well, I know what that means because I understand what the words mean, so you put it to one side, but really what you've actually read means something completely different.
If you use the word including in any letter or notice or contract, you exclude everything else by including whatever you're including.
Yep.
So unless you say including but not limited to, you're saying just this. So if you're claiming my rights include this, and you don't say any other rights, then that's your only right.
Another one would be a human being, it's a sea monster, and then you go to monster and it says half flesh and blood man rather and half animal, therefore not able to have the rights to property.
Yeah.
Common law could be best described as, like Michael, I think you said this earlier, but you know, not infringing other people's rights to life, liberty and property. We live in, the UK is marked as a common law jurisdiction, and if I'm right, my understanding is that all Commonwealth countries are common law jurisdiction.
Now that we have the UCC system in place globally, it does say inside the UCC some of the things, the rights you can claim, and it explains that these rights are pursuant to common law. So there's always that protection. They just they've got it well hidden. But these things are very much there. I mean, you won't find, just as a side issue, you're not going to find the Murder Act of what particular year. It doesn't exist. You just accept that it's wrong to kill people deliberately. So there are civil law systems, which we have a bottom-up system in common law, where you start with the basics and the law has to evolve based on the complexity of things. Whereas in these civil law countries, they go top down, and they write a codified body of legislation from which all judgments will be derived. So it's kind of, we use a common sense system. We look at previous cases, we look at the law, the generally accepted law of the land and statute, but they are rigid in civil law systems. The most prevalent system in the world today is civil law, but they still have a separate body of commercial law, which is governed by UCC.
Schedule 1, Part 1, Article 5, Clause 1 of the Human Rights Act 1998 refers to the security of person, and that security is evidenced by the number on the birth certificate issued to me by the government.
Bonded paper. So what appears on bonded paper? Bonds and securities. So that really is your proof of the fact that you have a security. They've not told you about it. The number at the top right-hand corner, if I'm right, is the number at the top right of birth certificates. Is in reference to your securities account.
And what happens after your birth is registered is the government set up what is known as a foreign situs trust in your name, in the name of your legal person. And this is known as the birth bond.
They also were able to post the bond to float loans in your name. I'm not sure how many people are too happy about that.
Loans to pay the interest on the national debt that can never be repaid.
Bearing in mind that it's a perpetual cycle, constantly increasing the money supply.
Once you ascertain what the relevant numbers are, you can track them through the securities exchanges. Once you've established the difference between your straw man and the living soul, you enter into a security agreement, and we're going to bring up the documents later on, but you enter into a security agreement between you, the living soul, and your straw man. And this security agreement involves your straw man promising everything he owns to you. You also have to file either a commercial lien or a maritime lien, again, on your legal person. Now this is basically saying, my legal person owes me big time. He's agreed that he owes me this amount, and you can make the amount whatever you want. People have been using figures like 300 million. You know, some people have even used billions. And what this means is, because a commercial lien or a maritime lien trumps everything else, all other claims against you, unless the value of the claim is higher than the value of your commercial lien, no one can take anything from you. Nothing.
Who in the court has the highest claim, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To protect yourself in this process, first of all, you have to fill in what's known as a UCC1. It's just a notice that you file with the UCC in America in the international domain of commerce, which establishes that you have this claim on your straw man. So it's in the public. They understand in the public you have claimed that from your straw man. No one else can touch you unless they got a better claim. Well, I mean, I don't think there are many of us that are going to have someone coming after us for £300 million. You know, that's the concept, that's the protection. Don't worry about these big figures, because these big figures have worked very successfully. Now, let's just say what you want to do is you want to make sure that your bond is utilised in exactly the right way. As opposed to instructing the UK Treasury to do what you want, you could reclaim the bond altogether, become holder in due course, and lodge it with the US Treasury. And of course, they'll take it, because it's a valuable security. You know, they can do well off it. So they're not going to turn it down, and there's no evidence to suggest that they've ever turned it down, as long as the documentation is correctly presented. Now, your bond, that we're talking about, the birth certificate bond here, once you become holder in due course of that bond, whether you're instructing the Treasury or you're going to lodge it with the US Treasury or some other international bank, once you're in that position, that bond is unlimited, because in law you cannot put a value on the living soul who they were about to create a legal fiction for. So it's unlimited. Now, what this means is that every single debt that you have in the public can be paid, and the bond is the security that it is going to be paid. And the lien prevents anybody else taking from your account anymore, if you see what I mean. So you're in total control of your existence.
You're really taking back what's rightfully yours.
Yes, you're taking back what's rightfully yours already. Your bonds are already in place. We don't really need to lodge them anywhere else, and I don't know if I want to do such a big favour to the US Treasury.